turn live from Sunday morning. It's the M.A.S.H unit. We're all broken. We're all fixed. We are all the people who put the things together for you to know. We have an exciting show of very awesome topics, some of which we planned ahead, and some will show up on their own. Number one, I am going to introduce you to the entire cast of characters. My name is Jeff Wheeler, and I am from lovely and illustrious downtown Atlanta, Georgia. Under the shine of the Gold Dome here in the illustrious capital of the state of Georgia, I am going to introduce the rest of our show, or the rest of our co-hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with Frank Heathington. Frank Heathington is currently two small toys on a couch.
That's meta.
All right, that's good talking. Next, I'm going to go to the frozen Michelle Lynch. Anything, Michelle?
Oh, no.
Michelle is frozen. So let's go back to New York and say good morning to New York. Tom, how are you?
Good morning, Jeff. So we have two. This is beautiful. We have two Lego figures and two Frozen figures.
Two Frozen figures and
we are a Hydra of sorts. There's lots of heads.
We are.
We gotta let it go.
Oh, Michelle came back. Michelle, you're here, and it looks like you have someone else in the room. Who's that?
I do. I have Jason in the room. He's a longtime listener and watcher of the show.
Hello.
First time caller, long time listener, first time caller.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Can we make everybody who's on the show ever now say long time listener, first time caller?
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah!
I'm gonna hang up and listen. Welcome.
So we got a couple of exciting. And Frank says that his throat hurts too much to talk, so he will be talking through the Legos. It'll be very quiet, but we'll hear them, I assure you. All right, so let's go on with our topics of the day. So recently in the news has been Ferguson, has been the New York stuff. I can't remember the guy's name that Eric Garner, that was wronged by the New York police. And there's been a number of large-scale protests across our great nation. Specifically about race and how the police treat different people of different races. And there was a project promoted by our illustrious president, Barack Obama, where he provided dollars to local governments in order to ensure that they had the resources to buy things for this kind of event, such as cameras, body cams for police. I really felt like it was a good topic for us to bring up. Are cameras on police a good idea or a bad idea? I'll hang up and listen.
I'll start and say it's an idea. It's a step. It's not, you know me, I hate silver bullet ideas or golden goose things where they're like, this will fix everything. Eric Garner was on cell phone camera footage, and yet there's still no indictment. So body cameras will not guarantee that everything just suddenly becomes right as rain. Could it potentially improve police performance, police interaction with community? Yes, but there needs to be more. One of the things that I heard on the radio this morning was someone talking about having police work hand in hand with outside organizations to teach cultural literacy. Really, how do I go in and interact with communities that are different than the one I come from? And I thought that was a great idea. I was like, yeah, of course. The police should not be trying to do this internally. They should not be trying to write these problems internally. I think the key is to have them work hand in hand with outside agencies, people who are better at this kind of stuff, to help bring them stuff. Cameras, I think it's an idea. I think it's something that can be put in place, but I don't think it's the cure-all that some people might like to think it is. Hanging up.
All right. Michelle, you have anything you wanted to chime in on? Jason.
Actually, I think the cameras, as you said, are a good start. I think the reason why they're going to be good is we're going to see police are going to screw up because they're used to a situation where they're not really held accountable. I do think police in general are good, and of course, so I'm not trying to say that that's an issue for everybody. But there's a lot of fringes where that is a problem. And what's going to wind up happening is when those officers do screw up, it's going to make the people in charge actually want to change the policies because now it's more public. Now they're going to have to be held at least partially accountable.
So let me throw something at you. If you say it's going to be public, right? If it's public, doesn't that mean that all the camera footage is then going to be public, right? So say the police come to your house for a domestic call, right? Some neighbor called you and they have a warrant to enter your home. They have a police camera on. They walk through your house. And if this is public, then if I'm a smart guy who's gonna be a thief, I just watch the police footage whenever it comes out on whatever that public stream is and look for a house that I need to case. And the police have already been through there. I know they're in turmoil in that home. I just go and pick off stuff, and then I can go in and break into their house because I know where the entrances are, where the exits are, where the TV is, and how much stuff they've got in there, et cetera, et cetera.
I would amend what Jason was saying, and I think that if there's a reasonable expectation of privacy, as you would in your own house, and we keep that reasonable expectation of privacy, that yes, you can put if they're out in the public, if the police officer is out in the public, then you can make it public. But if it is in a private home, no, you can't make that public.
So then doesn't that take away the purpose of the camera? So if the camera is there to make the police responsible for their actions, the only way that they're responsible is if people will see the footage. If there is a reasonable expectation of privacy, then the police, which this is what happened in California, they didn't release the footage whenever there was any worry that they were not doing the right thing. So the footage only got released when they knew they were scot clean. And so therefore the accountability section disappears. Right? So that's where my struggle on this thing goes, is because if it does what it's supposed to do and holds the cops accountable, you're basically giving away people's privacy. You're giving it away in order to make the cops answer for their own actions. If, on the other hand, they hold on to that privacy concern, then you're not doing anything really to protect the cops, because they have this fraternal order where they're going to protect themselves in large part.
That's a major problem. That is a major problem. That fraternal order is a major flipping problem. And the problem also extends to in the courtroom when you have the people that I feel like Law and Order is like because I saw the Jon Stewart thing. Dunk dunk. Yeah. You have the people, they work with these cops every day, and to throw them underneath the bus, I mean, then they become the prosecutor that nobody wants to work with, and
yep.
I think you hit on it. I think the systemic problem is this club that we're going to protect our own, and
well, no. And somebody who's in danger, you kind of want that to a certain extent.
Well, what's so interesting is I think it's a club that is protecting, it's an organization protecting a minority within the organization itself. There was I can't remember if it was the Pew Research study that said that 40% of resisting arrest complaints by police in New York City were done by 5% of police officers.
Well, actually, that's a pretty big percentage.
That's what I'm saying. It's huge. 5% of police officers are reporting, are making 40% of the resisting arrest.
Well, I'm just saying that 5% of police officers, if there's 100,000 police officers in New York, that's a number of people. That's 5,000.
It's a number of people,
cops.
But I'm saying that's. I know, but I'm looking at a scale. Yeah, it's not a small number, but what I'm saying is, that's indicating that there are potentially, it's like a sliding scale of...
That says it's a systemic problem to me.
Maybe not a systemic problem, but it's being used as if what I'm trying to say is it potentially is these reports of resisting arrest are ways of covering up actually abusive practices in policing.
Ah.
If it's coming down to if a larger number is being done by a smaller number,
Right.
what's it that why is it not more evenly distributed? Why is it coming down to certain officers are having a much more higher rate of he was resisting arrest?
Right.
It's like, really? Or are you doing
Either
something?
they're not as good with their words to let people know what to do, and then they go directly to physical force, or they are being a little bit different in the way that they police.
And
Maybe they're just smaller and less intimidating.
Take it back to Police Academy, and what's that girl's name in Police Academy that was like, "Oh, can you please put your hands behind your neck?"
I demand to see the statistics on their height, weight.
Yeah,
I want to see body mass index numbers for the NYPD.
Exactly.
I wanted to talk about this last week, Jeff. We never got a chance, and this is directly related to the Eric Gardner. I mean, this is actually related to a lot of cities. Problem is, I feel like that New York City currently is at its lowest crime rate in decades, and yet we still have a substantial police force that I feel like may be still operating under the Giuliani era of police and patrol everything, the broken window policy, where suddenly you have police that are acting like they're still in the late 80s, early 90s crack years, but there's not really that kind of crime to go after, so that's why you have 5 police officers hassling a guy for what was a tax violation. Eric Gardner's crime literally is a tax violation for selling loose cigarettes.
Right. Effectively, yeah. I mean, it's officially against the law as a misdemeanor, but it's effectively a collect tax effort.
So I just wonder if you're maintaining police levels and also maintaining police a way of looking at crime that may be dated.
Yeah.
It's just asking for more problems. You're using a nuclear missile to kill a fly.
That's right.
That's a horrible metaphor.
You're using an elephant gun to shoot a pheasant.
Thank you.
An elephant gun for a pheasant. And so I guess my question is I want people to try things that are going to hopefully make a difference in what we all agree is a problem. The police need to have some sort of accountability to society. And used to be it was a neighborhood cop that would walk around and, the police force wasn't so big that you didn't know your local cops. But now the force has gotten to the level where there's a bit of anonymity between any individual officer. And so it's harder to personally hold these people accountable in the society, in the community. But we need some other mechanism to hold these folks accountable. And we don't currently have anything that's very effective at that. And I think we need to try stuff. I just don't think that cameras are going to be a solution. I think cameras are going to bring up as much problems as anything else. But on the flip side, I do think that we ought to have the ability to video the cops. And I think there's a movement here in Atlanta and a couple other major metropolitans where people will just go out on arrest watch. And they're completely law-abiding citizens, but they basically put a GoPro on their head and walk around and wait for cops to arrest people. And then they just video the whole thing.
The problem with that, I find, is that the cops become very aggressive towards those people that are wearing the. Then they'll threaten to arrest them, and the problem. The cops feel entitled, and
Right.
And I understand that it is a hard. You're going out and you're sacrificing possibly your life for the security of
Your community.
Right. I understand, but there is nothing in that says that you are entitled to boss people or
Right.
make people feel uncomfortable in their community. Like, we're all here working together.
Right, but the problem is it's been an us versus them mentality.
Yes.
And as long as it's an us versus them mentality, and we're going to go out and get those guys, and they do a fight this one for the Gipper speech in the cop rooms before they go out every shift, we're going to have this kind of this adversarial relationship. And cops shouldn't have in my opinion, shouldn't have an adversarial relationship with their constituents. If they do, we have these problems. Okay.
I think cops are very different than the military.
Should
Yes. They should be.
Yes.
All right. Any other points on this topic, or on to the next? Okay. Then we will move on. Last Deep South Democrat disappears. Tom?
This is the end.
Oh, yeah? Did Tip O'Neill
yeah.
go away?
Tip O'Neill. No, this was
I like Mary Andrew.
Okay.
That was the disembodied voice of Frank, our who's in quarantine right now, in the trees apparently. No, with Mary Landrieu's loss in the what do you call that? The runoff election. There was no Democrat in Congress from the Deep South. Fascinating.
No Democrat.
Do you count
None.
Florida as a Deep South? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know what they count Florida as. I don't think so.
It's certainly not Deep South.
No one counts Florida.
Yeah. Unless you're selling textbooks, then you count Florida. And that's
There's the Mid-Atlantic, there's the Deep South, and then there was America's Wang. That's how it goes. That's what it is.
So Mary Landrieu was from Louisiana, right?
Louisiana, yes, 3-term senator. Very popular still. That's just, I was actually listening to people who said, much to your kick out incumbents, people said, hey, I actually thought she was doing a great job, but I thought it was time for a change. But it doesn't really do anything. That's why I was like, it doesn't really change anything in Congress, because already now, the Republicans already had the majority now, or coming majority in the Senate. But I just thought it was an interesting bellwether for what has been, what was for decades the stronghold of the Democratic Party was the South,
Right.
and now that's completely in the last 40 years in the post really civil rights era, that's completely watered away to where the party of Lincoln is now predominant in the Deep South. And I don't have much more to contribute outside of that. I don't know. I don't see where and how.
I don't know what that means, Tom. Hold on. What do you mean by the party of Lincoln is now predominant in the Deep
Lincoln
South?
was a Republican, and Lincoln freed the slaves. Although after Lincoln freed the slaves, the Democrats basically went and decided that they were going to make a policy switch to spend all of their time, energy, and effort on the traditional Southern vote, which, that's where you get your Southern Democrats that were all through the, 50s and such?
All the way up, yeah. One of the big key big shifts was Reagan was one of the first ones to bring the so-called Dixiecrats over. They were, people who, on almost a unconscious level, could not vote for the so-called party of Lincoln, and so would continue to run the Democratic line, and the Democrats depended upon that Southern bloc, which just slowly kind of withered away. I think Frank just piped in saying, it's everything
LBJ sold the blacks to the Democratic Party, same way Obama is doing immigration reform to lock in Latinos. Well, and you know that George Herbert Walker Bush Sr., whenever he was out in Texas, before he became president, was in the 50s, was one of the first ones to take the Republican Party in order to get the South, I guess this was 40s or 50s, in order to create a stronghold in the white South with the Republicans, was to move into that the religious efforts. So he started that whole concept of work in the religion, which I thought was very interesting.
So it's just, it's one election that I think is kind of the end of a lot of history of party evolution over the last 50, 60, hell, even longer years.
And it proves to me that the parties are really just wishy-washy spots on top of a wave, that somebody happens to push this way one season and the other way the next season.
Wishy-washy. They're like a bouncy castle with ideas just kind of like popping inside. Again, terrible metaphor. I don't know where I'm pulling these from today. Good Lord.
Okay. It's okay.
It's a M.A.S.H Sunday. Don't worry.
It is. We are all a piece of work today. All right, so our last topic that we've got on the docket today is to speak about oil.
Oil.
Right? So
I was intrigued on this. Sorry, I heard that it was Tom that had mentioned it, and I was intrigued to figure out. I actually have no idea what this is in reference to. So
This is my newest conspiracy theory about oil, but which actually I think is no longer a conspiracy theory; is an actual practical consideration. We had talked about in previous episodes about the plunging oil price, and would OPEC do anything, or would OPEC, specifically Saudi Arabia, keep this? And I was thinking, I think they might keep oil low to basically mess with Iran. Basically, kind of, because Iran's economy depends upon the price of a barrel of oil being over $100. It's contingent upon that. So basically,
and same with Venezuela.
And same with Venezuela. So I thought, if Saudi Arabia feels threatened by Iran, especially with the potential for a breakthrough in the nuclear negotiations, what better way than to basically mess with the regime than to keep oil price low? But then I started wondering.
Let me throw a little background. Hold on 1 second. So if our viewers are not aware, the price of oil over the last couple of months has come down significantly. So we're near $70 a barrel, where at the beginning of this year it was $130 a barrel. So therefore, that price swing has really changed the way that a lot of countries that take all of their political power from petrodollars, and then they reissue those petrodollars in their societal ways, such as Iran and these kinds of places. So it's been a 40-50% drop in price, or no, actually almost, yeah, it's been about it's at Black Friday sale price right now. So that's why
it's Black Friday oil prices.
That's right. Black Friday oil prices. So continue with your story about the geopolitical effects.
So my new conspiracy theory, which I no longer think is a conspiracy theory, I think is actually practical, was also, so what happened was, much to some people's prediction, Saudi Arabia is not changing or not pumping more gas, which is in turn going to keep oil. The other OPEC nations were hoping that, because the other members of the cartel would like Saudi Arabia to cut production, thereby boosting the cost per barrel, thus giving more profits back to the oil-producing states. Saudi Arabia is maintaining their production levels. And they say it's like, and analysts say this is to maintain market share. And I'm wondering if it's an attempt to basically bottom out the shale industry in the U.S. because shale. The profitability of shale production is also dependent upon traditional petroleum being at a high cost, and if suddenly it's hovering at potentially $60 some odd a barrel, it is not profitable to pump shale gas in the U.S. and thus this new nascent oil industry. I see Gainesville excited, so I'm going to throw it over to them. So it might undercut this nascent industry in this country. Gainesville.
I agree. I really think I hadn't considered how it would affect Iran quite as much, but this could potentially bankrupt the companies that have been doing it here, that have been going after the shale oil. So once they're kind of taken out, then they can raise it back up. So they take this small hit in the short term. In the long term, yeah, they're maintaining that market share because they're essentially driving out the competition.
Oh, evil.
All right, so here I watched CNBC this past week, and the CEO of ExxonMobil was on CNBC, and ExxonMobil is significantly involved in the shale production here in the United States. And he was asked directly, what does this oil price do to your investments here and abroad in LNG, liquefied natural gas, and in shale oil production? And he says, we made all of our assumptions when we were doing cost-benefit analysis based on $32 a barrel oil. He said, we made our evaluations as to whether or not we should build a plant or build a facility to do things to this oil based on $32 a barrel. So that basically said they can tolerate either the hit for the they can basically produce at a break-even level at $32 a barrel. And
Really?
all they're out is the initial investment. Right? So it cost them $1 billion to put it in, and then they can produce at $32 a barrel. But they didn't lose that piece of equipment.
To put in the well?
It's not really a well, but it's all the equipment that's required to run it and all these kinds of things. So it was $32 a barrel was implied as their break even on what they were doing.
Gainesville just shifted. Hold on, I'm waiting for them to get their headphones back on. But Gainesville just did this whole shift, and so I'm just wondering if is it like a he said she said thing going on over here?
Yeah, is this going to step up the conversation?
Point counterpoint.
Do we have a new
No.
primary?
Crossfire in Gainesville.
Yeah. Somebody's butt was hurting, I think. All right, Frank chimes in with Exxon would be the 30th largest economy in the world if it was a country. Thank you, Frank, for that random data point that we may or may not need.
As always, thank you, Frank.
Yes.
Thank you, Frank.
Michelle, your chest is glowing blue.
It does that from time to time, depending on what I did the night before. I was at UC last night.
Hey!
Aww.
I miss UC.
Man, I miss going to clubs. I feel
miss
if
you
I went to a
guys
club,
being at
I'd be that guy at the club going, "Hey."
No, Tom.
I feel like I'd have to wear a t-shirt and a blazer and a chain on the outside.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
My chain on my chest as I'm banging on the dashboard. My chain on my chest because I'm banging on the dashboard.
Nice.
Am I the only one who knows that song?
No, yeah, evidently.
Apparently.
Yeah, you don't know this one?
Is that something you Atlassians are down with? And
No, it's the girl that goes with the gunshots in the middle of the song.
oh, Metroid. That's Samus. No?
Metroid was a girl.
I like the way you think, Tom.
Thank you.
I don't want to put this. Did we finish oil? Sorry.
Well, there's one other thing that I think is super important is Russia also is related to this shale oil price. And so I think to Tom's end, as far as this is all a power play, right? So I think shale oil production was beefed up when Putin became into prevalence and was the heir apparent to all of what Russia is doing now. So the U.S. said, let's get this shale oil production going so we can drop the price of oil so that Russia is no longer using these petrodollars to do whatever the hell they want, right? Then after the dollars came down, and they said, we can lose money. It's not a big deal. And that goes again to my ExxonMobil with $32 a barrel. They can produce break even at $32 a barrel. Get the Russians to be all screwed up, in addition to Iran, because there's another conversation that says if the current government of Iran is overthrown, the people that are in the 20 to 35-year-old group are very pro-U.S. And likely the next government that comes in there would be a strong ally for the United States in the East, in the Middle East. So therefore, the United States has vested interest to adjust the way that whole country runs its show. In addition to the fact that this hurts one of our other enemies, which is Russia, which they're still pissed off because they're holding on to Edward Snowden, who has all kinds of information.
Enemies is a strong word.
Okay.
Antagonists. Geopolitical competitors.
That's probably not strong enough.
I think in Civilization 5 they would be hostile. We would not be at war.
Right.
They have denounced us. Parentheses note: you are not at war with this nation yet.
Yes.
Ah.
Well,
Yet. No, I think
Yet.
Well, we are starting an economic war, and
we're always starting an economics. You know, on a global scale, economics seem to be, if you treat it like a zero-sum game, it's
always a war.
It's always a war.
But I don't think it is a zero-sum game.
I don't think it is either. It doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be.
Look at us. We're all soft all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's all I got for petrodollars.
Okay. I don't want to take it to a very sad place, but I think that there has to be a moment of silence for a death that we all encountered this week. It's very sad to see that my newsletters will no longer have their animated GIFs, and my web pages and my flyers will no longer have my cutesy little stick figures hanging out in them. The death of clip art. The death of clip art.
Wait, what?
What?
What happened to that guy?
Wait, what happened
Where did he
here?
go?
I don't know the backstory. You need to share more.
Clip art
name
is
is
no
Clip.
longer. And he's gone. Poor Clip.
It was a guy named Clip?
This really fires me up. Why did Microsoft do that?
Microsoft. Why did Microsoft do that?
Oh.
I mean, you guys put out Windows 8 and you have to kill Clip? What the fuck, man?
Not cool, yo. Not cool. Where am I supposed
Way
to get my
chime
free
in with
images
something
from?
to make it not safe for work, Frank. Appreciate it.
No, you can't get it from Bing. So this is my problem with this, is that if I go to Bing and I go to Google, if I'm like a kid, you use those images, you've got copyright issues.
No,
Yeah.
Creative Commons filter.
They're sending it to the Creative
So they have a Creative Commons filter on Bing, and so when you go to download images, when you go to download images now, what's going to happen is it's going to take you to the Bing image search with the Creative Commons filter, so that you can use all of those images. Basically, they're embracing the internet.
They're taking away the
Microsoft?
clip art that they have licensed to and letting you have anything on the internet that is publicly licensed.
This is why I have him around it, because it's nice lines on clouds. Yes, thank you, Bill.
Aw.
And Google this week announced that they were going to get rid of CAPTCHA.
Oh.
The "Are you a robot" is supposed to go away. That little thing where you type in letters that are a pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah, because they can do it based on how your mouse maneuver.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
The mouse.
did not
the
know
mouse
that. Tell me
over,
more.
They said is as good or better than the CAPTCHA, because CAPTCHA, if you have a properly set up program, is 99% accurate at figuring all those CAPTCHAs out. The computer software just got too good, so it really doesn't prove anything to have that CAPTCHA on there. Am I saying that right? CAPTCHA?
Or CAPTCHA.
Yeah, we're getting to a point where like these kind of systems are. It's going to be a cat and mouse game that's going to lose.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, if they're able to do the "Are you a robot?" and then they just switch up the method every 2 years, that it's going to be as good as you can get, you know. And then in the second year, it's not going to be 100% effective, but by the third year, you just go on to something else. It's as good as you can ask for. All right. Do we have anything that pissed Tom off that shouldn't?
Oh my God, I did have something, and now I can't totally remember. It was yesterday, and wait, it's coming. It's coming to me. Hold on. It's a movie. It was a movie thing. I'm totally confused. Then it's gone.
Is
remember
it not? Is it not the new Star Wars?
Wait, maybe that's actually triggering something. I'm feeling. Was it something Star Wars? Something
Lightsaber. That was
No,
a crazy
no,
lightsaber
no.
that they had.
Do we,
No, that doesn't piss me off as much as everyone else seems to be. It was something that made no sense. It was some.
As they usually do with these, every week we get Tom has things that piss Tom off that probably shouldn't. For any of our new viewers out there, and it always is a delight to hear those things, because I feel also
frustration with the world.
in a way, yeah, the same way, and it's good to know that somebody else
Yes.
is out there feeling the frustration.
Oh man, now what's pissing me off is that I can't remember what it was yesterday. Was just
Old age is pissing you off.
Yeah, old age is definitely pissing me off.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you still got moves like Jagger, bud.
That's right.
Oh, I do have an ass hat though.
Okay.
I am gonna say it is
Mary
that ass
Andrew?
hat. No. Jeff, Be careful. I called you were my asshat last week.
Oh.
My asshat this week is the and he posted his name. I can't remember whatever the Reddit user was. The guy who poorly photoshopped a Ferguson protesters poster board to make like a
Inflammatory
racist meme out of it.
Yeah.
And then kind of basically bragged about it online. I was like, "You're an asshat. You're just go away. Go." You know, why can't we? I say we made Guantanamo. We just sent the first stanchion of prisoners or detainees, excuse me, at Guantanamo has been sent to Uruguay. 13, I believe, were sent to Uruguay. This is the first step in potentially winding down, finally, Guantanamo. So I say we just start sending internet trolls there next.
All right, so here we go.
Maintain the
Ready?
space and just send them there.
New rule. We have the don't be an asshole rule for life.
Don't be an asshole.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you break the don't be an asshole rule, you have to go and spend some time paying back society for your being an asshole. It's like timeout, right? You're not actually in prison. You just have to put in 8 hours a day for 3 weeks doing, digging holes or whatever they come up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe Jeff just equated Guantanamo to timeout. Is that correct?
It was a stretch, but yes. It was way out.
Disclaimer. I was not a part of that. What that just happened.
You seeded the idea for me. That's all.
It's almost like having to babysit for me in Vegas. Boom, boom.
And on that bombshell, I think we're going to end it this week, and we will see you all people next week, where we espouse our lives and say to you all the things that we wish we had said all week on a public forum. And I will bid you a fond adieu by saying, you don't have to think like me.
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 Frank looks funky, but we're going to ask on your own.
I don't think.
Okay, there you go. If you get a chance this week, come up with a great topic and think about it. And bring it to us next week here on the Speaker's Corner.
Let's hang out.
Oh, right. Let's hang out on the Speaker's Corner.
Do I look
Oh,
like...
that's good. I like that. Let's hang out on the Speaker's Corner?
Yeah.